Hey guys, Plonk here with another challenge video. I recently put out a poll asking what video you guys wanted to see next, and the winner was a shiny only run, which this isn't. Truth be told, the shiny only run is taking a little bit longer than I had anticipated, so instead I decided to go for the second most popular answer, which was another first 6 run. So today we find out, can you beat Pokemon Gold and Silver Chronicles using the first 6 encounters? If you've seen one of these videos before, you'll know the rules. But for those who haven't, I can only use the first 6 Pokemon I encounter once I get Pokeballs. Whatever those 6 Pokemon are, will be my team for the entire game. Unless of course I need certain HMs. That won't be an issue with this game though. We'll be taking on a relatively new ROM hack called Gold and Silver Chronicles. It's a Gen 3 remake of the Gen 2 games, which are some of my favourites. This ROM hack has a lot of new features though, more than most ROM hacks out there in fact. I'm talking the Fairy type, physical special split, some Pokemon from later generations, Mega Evolutions including a few new ones, and much more. There's even no need for HMs in this game, as it uses a system similar to Sun and Moon. To make things a little bit more challenging, I'll of course not be using any items in battle, however held items are allowed. Once again, I will also be playing in set mode. I plan to make this the case for videos going forward as well. Before we get started, shout out goes to these people for finding the dabbing Delibird. Comment down below with the timestamp for a chance to be featured next time. Also, I normally don't do this at the start as I don't really like doing it, but we are so close to 30,000 subscribers. So if you're new here and you like what you see, then please consider hitting that subscribe button, it really does make a difference. Okay, without any further ado, let's get this challenge underway. I start the game picking the female character, and call her Tai. That's right, this one is legendary. I choose Chikorita as my starter simply to annoy HBT, and defeat our rival, which I promptly call Zwigo. There's no reason, I'm just using his name for views again. There's also a second rival in this game, which in my case is the male character. He only has a Shink, so we easily beat him, and now we get our Pokeballs so we can catch our first Pokemon. I avoid Pokemon in the first route as I don't really think there's that many good choices, and go straight to Route 46. There I catch myself a Spearow. Not the most exciting Pokemon around, but I guess it'll do. I then move north of Cherry Grove City, where we run into our second Pokemon, Bidoof. Ah yes, the god Pokemon himself. This will make a fine addition to our team. It also means we got a water type later. I decide to catch 2 more Pokemon in the route just north of here, the first of which is actually an Abra. Now this is definitely something to be excited about. Alakazam is one of the best Pokemon you can use in game, so I'm really looking forward to using this. The second Pokemon is a Bellsprout, which is not quite as exciting, but I've always liked Victreebel, so I'm interested to see how it'll do. I head to Dark Cave as well for one encounter, and predictably it's a Geodude. I'd rather this than a Zubat, that's for sure, but hey, it means we've got a good defensive Pokemon on the team. I head just to the left of Violet City for our final Pokemon, and it ends up being an Ekans. We've already got a Poison type, so this isn't that useful, but I'm sure it'll still pull its own weight. There we are then, this is our team. We've got a decent mix here. We got some fast Pokemon, some defensive Pokemon, and some heavy hitters as well. Overall, this isn't so bad. We take on the first gym leader Faulkner, but he wasn't really that much of a problem. I start with Bidoof as Pidgeys up first, and go for rollout but we miss because of the sand attack, but eventually we do hit, and we can do some really solid damage, before we unfortunately miss. I just decide to switch out though and go into Spearow, who has the Keen Eye ability so we don't get our accuracy dropped, but he actually outspeeds us and we can't take it out before we go down. I send Bidoof back in though, and this time we don't miss, and we're able to take out the Pidgey in 2 rollouts. Hoothoot's up next, and unfortunately puts us to sleep with a Hypnosis, and we can't wake up before we go down to 2 Plucks. Now I send in Geodude though, who has a rollout as well, but first I decide to boost my speed with Rock Polish, as he misses a Hypnosis. I can then go for the rollout, which does okay damage I suppose, but then we do get put to sleep, and then he goes for Roost. He then decides to switch out and go into Murkrow, but he just goes for Leer so we can hit a rollout once we wake up, and then take it out with the second one. Our rollout is super powered up now and all he has left is this Hoothoot, so we can just easily outspeed and take it out for the win. Overall, pretty easy first gym badge. We take on Ethan and beat him once again. Honestly, he's not really that difficult at the moment, and on our way to Azalea Town we evolve Bidoof. That's not the only Pokemon we evolve though, as Abra does evolve into Kadabra, which is a definite upgrade. We then beat Team Rocket and take on the second gym leader Bugsy. He starts off with the Skorupi, which is not really a problem. I lead with Spearow and go for the Aerial Ace as he sets up the Toxic Spikes, which is going to be a 2-hit KO. He does poison us with a Poison Fang though, but we still take it out, and his next Pokemon is Yanma. We do get outsped though and taken out by a U-turn, as he sends in Scyther. I decide to switch in Ekans to get rid of the Toxic Spikes, and go for a Glare as he U-turns out again. This means we hit Yanma instead, but I'm fine with that honestly, as Ekans can now outspeed and hit a 4-time super effective Rock Tomb. It doesn't quite take it out though unfortunately, but we just survived the incoming U-turn, as he sends out Scyther once again. I'm pretty sure we're going to get taken out here, but I just go for Glare just in case, but he actually goes for Double Team. We do miss, but then he goes for another 2 double teams, so we do eventually hit the Glare. Not only that, we hit a Rock Tomb as well to do about 50% of its health, as he eats a Citrus Berry and then takes us out. I send in B-Barrel though, and go for the super effective Pluck, and we even get a crit too. He does go for U-turn again though and go back into Yanma, and then he proceeds to fully heal up as well, as I go for the Headbutt, which is an easy 2-hit KO, after we take a Quick Attack. We now just need to beat Scyther, which we outspeed and take out with a Headbutt, so that's 2 gym badges down already. We had to fight Zwiggo once again, but again this was a really easy fight, so I'm just going to skip past this one, and move on to Goldenrod City. On the way we evolve quite a few members. Spearow evolves into Fearow, Ekans into Arbok, and Bellsprout into Weepinbell. All of a sudden this team's looking a lot stronger. There's some new story here, surrounding Team Rocket and the sewers underneath Goldenrod City. I actually really liked this, it was a nice touch. We then evolve yet another team member, that being Geodude into Graveler, and then we take on Whitney. This was actually a lot easier than I was expecting, as Whitney is now a Fairy type user. She starts off with a Granbull, so I lead with Arbok, and goes straight for the Sludge Bomb, which almost takes out from full health, as she just goes for Charm. She then withdraws it though and goes into Miltank, but we get the poison on it with a Sludge Bomb, which is great, and then she just wastes a turn using a full heal, so I'm able to hit one more. She then misses a Zen Headbutt as we get a critical hit, and then a poison as well, which is just insane luck, and she just goes for another full heal, so we easily take it out. Granbull's up next, but she just goes for a Super Potion, which doesn't heal her enough, so one Sludge Bomb takes it out, and next up is Togetic. Again, I go for the Sludge Bomb, and it does over half, as she just hits a weak Facade. This means we can take it out with one more, and her final Pokemon Clefairy just goes down in 2 Sludge Bombs as well. Honestly, that was the easiest Whitney fight I think I've ever done. We now arrive in Ecruteak City and face off against Zwiggo once again. Haunter's at first and takes huge damage from Fearow's Aerial Ace, and then he just takes himself out with a Curse. Interesting play there, interesting. He sends in Sneasel next though, and I was hoping to U-turn out, but he actually just outspeeds and takes us out with an Ice Punch. So I switch in B-Barrel, and go for the Headbutt. He hits a weak Pursuit first though, so we can easily take another one as we go for another Headbutt, and then he fully heals up. A couple more Headbutts and an Aqua Jet take it out no problem though, and next up is Quilava. Aqua Jet is super effective and does over half its health, but he does heal up with a Citrus Berry and then go for a Bulldoze, but it hardly does any damage, so we can just about take another one, and take it out in 2 Aqua Jets. His final Pokemon is Golbat, so I just get one final hit with Aqua Jet before we go down, and then send in Graveler. He goes through the Confuse Ray and we do unfortunately hit ourselves, and then while we do snap out we actually end up missing, and then poisoned by a Toxic. Third time's the charm though as we hit the Rock Tomb, and it just easily takes it out from there, winning us the fight. Honestly Zwiggo, get good. Before taking on Morty I evolved Weepinbell into Victory Bell, and honestly this was quite an annoying gym fight, but not for the reason you're expecting. For some reason there's always fog in this gym, which means that moves are always going to be inaccurate, and as you can see we immediately miss. Mischievous goes for Curse though, and thankfully we don't miss the second time, and we can take it out with a single Crunch. He straight up just sends out his Gengar next, so I decide to switch out as I think he's going to go for a Shadow Ball. I switch in B-Barrel, but he actually just goes for Hypnosis, but he just misses anyway, and then he misses a second time. This means I can hit a super effective Crunch, as he just goes for a Super Potion. We get the defense drop as well on the second one, as he goes for another Super Potion, so I can bring it back down to low health, but then he curses our Crunch. This means I can't use it, so I have to rely on Aqua Jet, which as you can see is not quite enough, but then he misses Hypnosis again. This means we can take it out with one more, and next up is Haunter. Again though, this is just a weaker version of Gengar, so I'm not really scared. We get poisoned as I go for an Aqua Jet, and then we barely survive a Venoshock as I land a Crunch. It's just enough to take it out thankfully, as we just survived the poison. Morty's final Pokemon is a Drifblim though, so we just get taken out by a Payback, and I send in Graveler. Again though, he goes for the Curse for some reason, but we do miss the Rock Tomb. But then the Quick Claw I was holding activates, which means we can move first and just take it out with a single Rock Tomb. All things considered, that could have gone a lot worse. We face up against Ethan once again, and he's actually got kinda tough this time. Ariados is up first but goes down to 2 Aerolaces from Fearow, and Luxray goes down to a single Bulldoze from Graveler. Sylveon just goes down to 2 Bulldozes, and so does Matang. His final Pokemon is Growlithe, so we can just about survive a Flame Burst and take it out with another Bulldoze. Honestly, Graveler is probably one of the best members of our team so far. We can then take on the 5th Gym Leader Chuck, but this wasn't too bad, as we have both Kadabra and Fearow. Heracross is up first but goes down in a single Psychic, and next up is Primeape. I try and take it out with another Psychic, but we actually get outspared, and we get absolutely destroyed by a Gunk Shot. I send in Victory Bell and just go for the Sludge Bomb, which does about half as he goes for another Gunk Shot. He then heals up, so we can only just bring it down to half again before we get taken out, so now I send in Graveler. He actually decides to switch out here, so he might be choiced, and he swaps into Poliwrath, who takes a Bulldoze like it's nothing, so I need to get out of there. I decide to switch in Arbok as we have the Seed Bomb, as we take a Waterfall. I decide to paralyze it with a Glare, as he just goes for Power Up Punch, which doesn't do much damage, but it is kinda scary that he's boosting his attack. Either way though, he just goes for a full heal the next turn, so after going for a Seed Bomb, I paralyze it once again, as we get taken out by an Ice Punch. From here though, I can switch into Fearow, and unfortunately Aerolace isn't enough to KO, but he does get fully paralyzed. This means that we could take it out with one more, but he does fully heal up, so we can actually bring it back down to low health, and then he misses the Hypnosis. This was just the lucky break we needed, as this means we can take it out with one more Aerolace. Primeape comes back out next, and just goes for the Rock Slide, which we just hang on from, and we can just finish it off from there. Chuck's final Pokemon is Hariyama, so I just get as much damage in as I can with an Aerolace, before getting taken out by a Feint Attack. Both our remaining Pokemon are weak to fighting though, so this could be an issue. So I switch into Bibarel, who's just able to take a Body Press, and go for the super effective Pluck, which brings it down to low health. I then just go for an Aqua Jet to get as much damage in as I can, as we get taken out by a Feint Attack. It's now down to my final Pokemon Graveler, but thankfully we're defensive enough to take a Body Press, which means we can take it out with a Bulldoze from there. That's 5 badges down already. Let's head straight to the 6th Gym Leader Jasmine, as this was actually quite a tough fight as well. Magneton is up first, so I leap with Victory Bell, and we immediately get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave, as I go for the knockoff. This pops her Air Balloon, which means she could be hit by ground moves now, so after hitting another knockoff I get taken out by a Mirror Shot, and then I can just switch into Fearow, and finish it off with a Drill Run. Leiron's up next, so I stay in and go for another Drill Run, which does huge damage thanks to it being 4 times super effective, but unfortunately we do get taken out by a Stone Edge, so I switch into Bibarel. She does fully heal up, but I go for the Aqua Tail, which is also super effective, and 2 of them bring it down to red health. She just goes to Stealth Rock though, so I can take it out with another one, and next up is Bastiodon. Again, I just go for the Aqua Tail for some decent damage, as she poisons us with a Toxic. Another one brings it down below half, as she just goes for the weak Smart Strike, so I can hit an Aqua Jet for some small damage, and I was gonna take it out with another Aqua Tail, but she swaps out into Steelix. Again though, Aqua Tail does some decent damage, and we can even hit one more before we go down, so now I send in Graveler. I decide to go for Power Up Punch, as we're not really going to be dealing much damage even though we are super effective. We get the attack boost as he goes for a high horsepower, which we just survive, and from there I can go for the Bulldoze. It's not enough to KO though, and we get taken out by a Smart Strike, so I switch in Kadabra. I go for the Shadow Ball, which isn't quite enough to take it out unfortunately, and we get destroyed by a Smart Strike, so now we're down to my final Pokemon, which is Arbok. This isn't looking too good. I try and finish it off with a Crunch, but she swaps back into Bastiodon, but then Crunch actually gets the defense drop, which is just what we needed. One more Crunch brings it down to red health, and we're bulky enough to survive a Smart Strike, which means we can take it out with one more, and now we just need to deal with Steelix, who we're faster than. She doesn't have any Hyper Potions either, so we can just outspeed and KO with one more Crunch for the win. That was a lot closer than I would have liked. We beat Ethan once again, honestly his team hasn't changed a whole lot, and I make my way to Mahogany Town. At the Lake of Rage you can actually get some evolutionary items, and I actually need 2 of these. I get myself a Hardstone and Twisted Spoon, which can evolve Graveler and Kadabra respectively. I evolve them into their final forms, and now we have a fully evolved team. I deal with Team Rocket once again, and take on the 7th gym leader who's not Price. In fact, it's Lorelei from Kanto's Elite Four. She starts off with a Glaceon, so I lead off with our new Alakazam, and go straight for the Psychic. It does over half and we just survive a freeze dry, and I was gonna take it out with one more, but she swaps into Lapras, who actually takes it really well. I'm able to hit one more though before we faint, and from there I can switch into Arbok. I go for the Seed Bomb, but it's not quite enough, and hits back with the super effective Psychic. We also just survived though, and I thought she was gonna heal up here, so I go for the Glare, but she actually just swaps into Glaceon. She immediately heals it with a full heal though, as I go for another Seed Bomb, which doesn't do too much. I was going to take it out with a Sludge Bomb, but then she swaps out again, this time going into Glalie. Sludge Bomb doesn't really do that much though, and I was going to paralyze it, but she then just goes for Explosion to take us both out. That was a little bit of a waste, I'm not going to lie. I switch in Golem as Glaceon comes back out, and she fully heals it with a Hyper Potion as I go for the Rock Tomb, which lowers its speed, as she fully heals it again. She's now really slow, so we can outspeed it with a Rock Tomb and just finish it off from there. And next up is Jinx. I switch into B-Barrel to take an Ice Beam, and I know from previous attempts that this thing is choiced, so I can easily stay in and take another one as I go for the Crunch. It brings it down to red health, but we have the priority Aqua Jet which just takes it out from there, and next up is that Lapras again. We're actually faster though, so we can just finish it off with a Headbutt, and now we just need to deal with our final Pokemon, which is Frostlass. We get taken out, so I switch into Victreebel, as she thankfully misses the Frost Breath, and I go for the knockoff. She doesn't miss the second turn though, and we go down easily, and this isn't looking too good as both of my Pokemon are weak to ice, but I need to rely on the Quick Claw here, and we actually get it. This means we can hit first and go for the Earthquake, which is enough to take it out, and we win ourselves the 7th badge. Honestly, that was really close. We now make our way through Ice Path, where we get challenged by Ethan once again. Same as before though, his team really hasn't changed, so I'll skip over this for now. And before we can take on the 8th and final gym leader, we need to face Team Rocket once more. Yanmega's up first, so I lead with Golem, and straight away we get the Quick Claw boost, and take it out in a single hit. Skarmory's up next, so I go for the Stone Edge, and this activates his ability Weak Armor. This lowers defense and raises speed, but this actually kind of soft locks him. For some reason, all he does is go for Iron Defense, so we just need to hope for a critical hit, which we get on our 4th Stone Edge. It takes it out, and next up is Dusknoir, so I just go for the Earthquake, which actually doesn't do as much as I was expecting it to, as he goes for an Earthquake of his own. It does over half, and we unfortunately can't take it out before we go down to another one, so I switch into B-Barrel. I go for the Swords Dance here as I thought he was going to heal up, but he actually just swaps into Spiritomb, so I go for a Crunch and we get a critical hit, but even a crit only does about half, and we take decent damage from a Dark Pulse. I decide to risk it and go for one more Swords Dance, and thankfully we do survive a second Dark Pulse. He then switches out again for some reason and goes into Gliscor, who after using a lot of full restores, just gets easily taken out by 2 Aqua Jets. Spiritomb comes back out only to get destroyed by a second Crunch, and Dusknoir goes down to an Aqua Jet. We're now down to his final Pokemon, which is Houndoom, and it's actually a Mega Houndoom as well. He's actually just bulky enough to survive an Aqua Jet, and unfortunately B-Barrel's Reign of Terror comes to an end, but he really did a good job. I send in Arbok, who's just bulky enough to survive a Flamethrower, and from there we can just take it out with a Sludge Bomb for the win. Honestly, this attempt went really well, but I lost this fight so many times. Now we can finally take on the 8th and final gym leader Claire, who starts off with a Dragonair. I lead with Arbok and go for the Sludge Bomb straight away, which does just under half as we get phased out by a Dragon Tail, and get sent into B-Barrel. We then get paralysed by a Thunder Wave as I go for the Headbutt, which unfortunately is not quite enough, so as I know she's going to heal up here, I go for the Swords Dance, followed by another Headbutt. She must have gone for another Dragon Tail as we move first, and then we even get the flinch, which means after she fully heals up, we can just take it out with 2 more. Next up is Altaria though, so I just go for another Headbutt. She actually misses a Dragon Rush, and it does decent damage too. She doesn't miss the second time though, and we even get flinched, and I try to get some more damage in with Aqua Jet, but we just get fully paralysed and then taken out by another Dragon Rush, so I switch in Golem. We can easily tank one more hit and finish it off with a Stone Edge, and next up is Kingdra. I switch out and go into Victory Bell as I'm expecting a water move, and indeed she does go for Scold, followed by a Dragon Pulse which we survive with just 1 health remaining. I can then go for a knockoff to get rid of her item, as we get taken out by a Sludge Wave. I switch in Alakazam, and I know this thing's only got special moves, so I go for the Calm Mind. This means we can easily tank a hit while boosting our special attack as well, and then I can follow up with a super effective Dazzling Gleam, which just easily takes it out from there. Next up is Gyarados though, and this is even a Mega. This does make it part Dark though, which means it's weak to Dazzling Gleam, but even at +1 it's not enough, and we get destroyed by a Crunch. Gyarados then proceeds to go on a bit of a rampage, taking out both Fearow and Arbok, leaving me on my final Pokemon, which is Golem. I get the insanely lucky Quick Claw boost though, which means we can outspeed and take it out with an Earthquake, and now it's just a one-on-one. Her final Pokemon is Flygon though, which is kinda scary. She goes through the Dragon Dance as I go for a Double Edge to bring it down below half, and then we get another clutch Quick Claw boost, which means we can outspeed and take it out with one more for the win. Honestly, that couldn't really have been closer, but I'll take it, we now have all 8 badges. We can now make our way through Victory Road, and there's no fight with Zwiggo, I wonder where he went. Anyway, let's take a look at our final team. Honestly, I'm actually really happy with how this team has turned out. We've actually got a good mix of Pokemon here. I especially think that B-Barrel's actually surprised me at how good it's been, but we have no bad team members here. Alakazam is obviously the best member of the team, and I just want to point out that it also now has the Mega Stone, so we can even Mega Evolve it, so I'm looking forward to that. Will this team be enough to beat the Elite Four though? Well, let's find out. First up is Psychic user Will, who starts off with a Xatu. I lead with Golem and get the best start possible, as we get a Quick Claw boost and take it out with a single Stone Edge. Bronzong is up next, so I need to switch out. I switch in Victory Bell as he goes for the Trick Room, which means he does outspeed, and go for the Earthquake. It really doesn't do much though, and I go for the knockoff, and then we get hit by a Gyro Ball, but it hardly does anything as well, and one more knockoff brings it down to red health. Of course he does fully heal it with a full restore, and we can't even do much more damage, before he just blows up with Explosion, taking us both out. I switch in Golem once again, as he sends in Executor next, and again I need to get out of there. He goes for the Giga Drain, which is Life Orb boosted, which means that Fearow is just barely able to take 2 of them, and go for the 4-time super effective U-turn, which much to my surprise doesn't take it out. I send in Arbok just in time for the Trick Room to wear off, and go for the Sludge Bomb, but he actually just switches out. He sends in Slowking, who actually just gets poisoned, so I go for the super effective Crunch, which brings it down below half as he goes for a Calm Mind. I go for one more in the hopes it'll be enough, but he just hangs on, and takes us out in a single Psyshock, so I switch in Golem once again. I go for the Earthquake, but he switches out again and goes into Executor, who is actually just bulky enough to take an Earthquake unfortunately, so I go for the Double Edge. Of course he does fully heal up once again, and Double Edge isn't doing more than half, so I'm praying for a Stone Edge crit here, but we don't get it and it just survives, and goes for another Trick Room. I know he's going to take us out with a Giga Drain here, so I just swap into Fearow, who gets easily taken out, and then I switch in Alakazam. I Mega Evolve and just about take a Giga Drain, and then hit back with a Shadow Ball, which is enough to finish it off from there. Slowking's up next, and the Trick Room is still active, so he's going to outspeed, so I decide to switch out into B-Barrel, who takes a Scold like it's nothing. I then go for the Crunch as he goes for a Psyshock, which we also take with ease, and we even get a crit to finish it off. The Trick Room wears off and we're now just down to his final Pokemon, which is Gardevoir, and it's a Mega as well. I know we're going to get taken out, so I just go for the Aqua Jet to get as much damage as I can, and then switch into Golem. Again we get a Quick Claw boost though, so I can go for the Earthquake, which he just barely survives, and he one-hit KOs us with a Hyper Voice. I'm now down to my final Pokemon, which is my own Mega, but thankfully we're faster, and a single Shadow Ball is all we need. Gardevoir goes down and we beat Will. Next up is Poison user Koga, but this was definitely the easiest Elite Four member. He starts off with Roserade, so I lead with Fearow, and he does actually outspeed, but we do survive the Sludge Bomb, and in return, one-hit KO with the Drill Peck. Next up is Crobat though, who just takes us out with a Brave Bird, so I switch into Golem. You guessed it, we get another Quick Claw boost, which means we can one-hit KO with a Stone Edge. Next up is Beedrill, which you might think is a weird choice for an Elite Four member to have, but you guessed it, it's a Mega Evolution. Even a Mega Beedrill's Drill Run though is not enough to take out our Golem, and in return we can one-hit KO with a Rock Tomb. Next up is Gengar, but we don't get a Quick Claw boost, so we get taken out by a Shadow Ball, so I send in Arbok. He goes for the substitute as I go for a crunch, which just immediately breaks it, and then he goes for a shadow ball. We do take the hit though, and in return we actually just one hit KO with a crunch, so now we're down to his final Pokemon, which is Muck. He does go for minimize a couple of times, but we get some decent damage in with a few crunches before we go down, so now we're just switching to Alakazam. He does fully heal it though as I Mega Evolve, but our Psychic is just too strong, and just takes it out from full health. All things considered, that was a pretty easy fight. Next up is a new member of the Elite Four though, Ale or Ailey, I don't know how to pronounce it. Either way though, she's a normal type user, and we get absolutely destroyed. I was not expecting this at all, but we actually had to go do some training before we could win. Eventually though, we do get the victory. First up is Ursaring, so I lead off with Alakazam, and immediately Mega Evolve and go for the Psychic, which brings it down below half. We just about survive a critical hit facade, as she goes through the full restore. She does this a couple of times, so we can eventually take it out, and next up is Delcatty. I know this thing has Fake Out, so I switch into Golem, who takes it easily. Delcatty has the ability Normalize, which makes all moves normal type, so Golem doesn't really have much to worry about here. She misses a Gunk Shot as I go for the Double Edge, and then she fully heals up, only to get destroyed by a critical hit, taking it out from full health. Next up is Blissey though, this was another real pain to deal with. I know she's going to go for Toxic, so I switch into Victory Bell, and then go for the knockoff. This gets rid of the leftovers, which is going to make this a lot easier, as she goes for Seismic Toss. I then go for the Leaf Blade to get some decent damage in, as she goes for another one. A couple more Leaf Blades take it out no problem though, and next up is Snorlax. Again I go for the knockoff, which gets rid of his berry, as she starts setting up Curse. I just try and get as much damage in as I can, and we can actually bring it down to decently low health, before going down to a Facade and Darkest Lariat. From here though I can switch into Alakazam, who is just strong enough to take it out with the Psychic, and her final Pokemon is Kangaskhan. You've probably guessed by now that this is a Mega, so I switch into Golem once again to take a Fake Out, followed by a Seismic Toss. I hit back with an Earthquake, which actually does half its health, but we don't get any Quick Claw boost or anything, so we go down to one more Seismic Toss. But from here I can switch into Alakazam once again, and we're able to outspeed and take it out from there for the win. Honestly, this was the most difficult fight of the entire game, I'm not even joking. The final member of the Elite Four is Karen, insert joke here. She starts off with Umbreon, so I lead with Fearow, and I know she's going to go for Toxic here, so I U-turn out, and we even get a crit, and then I switch into Victory Bell. Obviously Toxic doesn't affect it, and then I go for the knockoff to get rid of his item, as she goes for Wish. She then fully heals it with a full restore, as I go for the Leaf Blade for some decent damage, only for her to fully heal it back up again. I go for Sludge Bomb this time and we do get the poison, which is going to be really useful, and I'm able to bring it down to low health, before she switches out into Drapion. Of course, my Leaf Blade really doesn't do that much, and we do unfortunately get outsped and taken out the next turn, so I switch into Golem. We get hit by a super effective Earthquake, but it hardly does anything, and in return, our own Earthquake just straight up takes it out. Next up is Shiftry though, so I switch into Arbok, who's easily able to take not one but two Leaf Blades, and one hit KO with the Gunk Shot. Next up is Houndoom, who you might think is Omega, but you'd be wrong. I go for the Glare, which was actually a really good play. She goes for the Sucker Punch, and now it's fully paralyzed. I switch out as she goes for another Sucker Punch, and I switch in B-Barrel. I go for the Curse, and she even gets fully paralyzed, and then I follow up with an Aqua Jet, but it's just barely not enough to take it out, but then she gets fully paralyzed for a second time. She then fully heals with the full restore, so 2 more Aqua Jets are all we need, and next out is Umbreon. She goes for Wish, but we can just take it out with a Headbutt, and now we're down to her final Pokemon, which is a Tyranitar. Of course, this is a Mega Evolution, and there's actually no point in attacking here, as she's just going to heal it back with the Wish, so I go for another Curse. We are just tanky enough to take a Stone Edge, and now we can hit a +2 Aqua Jet, but it hardly does anything, and we get taken out by another Stone Edge. I can now switch into Golem, and we get another Quick Claw boost. I don't really know if it mattered though, as 1 Earthquake's all we need to take it out, and now we've beaten the Elite Four. All we need to do now is beat the champion, and it turns out the champion in this game is Ethan. This was an interesting choice, but it does actually make sense. However, before we can face him, we have to fight Zwigo first. No wonder he wasn't in Victory Road. He starts off with a Weavile as I lead with B-Barrel, and he goes straight for the Night Slash to bring us down to red health, as I go for the Headbutt. It does just under half though, so I just go for the Aqua Jet to get as much damage in as I can, as we get taken out by another one. I send in Golem as he fully heals up with a full restore, but we can actually just one-hit KO with a Rock Tomb. Alakazam is up next, so I stay in and go for the Earthquake as he actually misses the Focus Blast. This was insanely lucky as it means that we can bring it down to its Focus Sash, and then he just fully heals it with a full restore. This doesn't replenish his Sash, so he just goes down in a single hit, and Gengar's up next. I don't get quite so lucky the second time though, as Gengar doesn't miss the Focus Blast, and it takes us out from full health. Now I can switch into my Alakazam though and Mega Evolve, and just easily outspeed and take it out with a single Psychic. Next up is Electivire, so I just go for another Psychic, and it actually does huge damage, as he just goes for Electric Terrain. This doesn't really bother me in the slightest, so we can just take it out with one more Psychic. And next up is Typhlosion. This isn't any Typhlosion though. In this game, the Gen 2 starters have Mega Evolutions. I'm pretty sure that this makes it a Fire Ground type, and it has the ability Drought as well. I'm able to go for the Psychic though, which does huge damage thanks to a critical hit, as he goes for the move Sharp Flint. This does a lot of damage and lowers my special attack as well, and then he fully heals. Thanks to that move though, our Psychics really aren't doing too much damage now, and then he goes for the Nasty Plot as well, so things are looking kinda scary. I was hoping that one more Psychic would be enough, but he just hangs on, and takes us out with a Solar Beam. My Victreebel has Chlorophyll though, which doubles my speed in the sunlight, so I take full advantage of this and go for the Sludge Bomb, and we do outspeed and take it out from there. That could have been a real problem. Zwigo's final Pokemon is Crobat, so I stay in and go for the knockoff, but this was actually a mistake, as he has the Acrobatics, which doubles in power if you're not holding an item. This means that we can't survive a second one and we go down, so I send in Arbok. We actually just survive a critical hit Acrobatics, and paralyze it with a Glare, and then go for Crunch. We get some insane luck here though, as he gets fully paralyzed not once but twice, so we can take it out with a few more crunches for the win. That was really cheesy, but I'll take it. Now we've beaten Zwigo for the final time, we can face the actual champion, Ethan. He starts off with Ariados as I lead off with B-Barrel, and I can't remember if I mentioned earlier that this thing is part Ghost. Either way, he goes for First Press, which does over half, as I hit a super effective Crunch. It brings him down to healing range, and he actually wastes most of his full restores here, so eventually we're able to take it out, after just surviving a Psychic on 2 HP. Next up is Milotic though, who just takes us out with the Surf, so I switch in Victreebel and go for the Leaf Blade, as he goes for the Aqua Ring. Leaf Blade's going to be a 2-hit KO, but he does have the super effective Blizzard, but we are just able to survive and take it out with a second Leaf Blade. Next up is Arcanine though, so I need to get out of there. I switch in Golem, who's basically the perfect switch in. We easily take not only an extreme speed but also a Flare Blitz, and in return just KO with an Earthquake. Sunflora's up next, which is actually part Fire in this game, so I go for the super effective Stone Edge, but it's not actually enough, and we get destroyed by a Seed Flare. Thankfully though, I can outspeed it with Fearow and take it out with a Drill Peck, and next up is Metagross. I switch into Victreebel as he Mega Evolves, and he takes us out with the Meteor Mash, so I switch into Arbok, and we get some more insane luck here as he actually misses the Meteor Mash, which means we can paralyze it with a Glare. This is exactly what we needed, as now we can outspeed and hit a Crunch, as we get taken out. I then switch into Fearow and go for the super effective Drill Run, which brings it down below half, as we too get destroyed by a Meteor Mash. It's now down to my final Pokemon Alakazam, and he still has 2 left. Thankfully though, I can Mega Evolve and outspeed, and take it out with a single Shadow Ball from there, and now we just need to deal with his final Pokemon, which is Drifblim. Now, I'm not confident that we can take it out in a single Shadow Ball, but I think we can survive a hit if we go for the Calm Mind, so I take the risk and go for it, and thankfully it does pay off. We easily survive a Shadow Ball, and in return, our own Shadow Ball is enough for a 1-hit KO. Drifblim goes down and we beat Ethan, and beat Pokemon Gold and Silver Chronicles using only the first 6 encounters. Well, I've got to say, this ROM hack was definitely more challenging than I anticipated. Overall, this has got to be one of my favourite ROM hacks in a long time. The creators did a really good job, and I've linked the game's Discord in the description if you want to try the game out for yourself. Say hi and tell them you came from this video. As for the team, it was somewhat of a mixed bag. Alakazam and Golem were by far the best members of the team, but some Pokemon like Arbok and Victreebel were a tiny bit underwhelming. Not necessarily bad as such, they just weren't quite as good as I'd expected they would be, but overall I am happy with the team. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, and subscribe if you want to see more. As I said, we're so close to 30,000 now, so if you subscribe, it'd really mean a lot. The new shiny only video will be coming soon, and there's even a new gift Pokemon run in the works as well, on this very ROM hack, so make sure to keep an eye out for those. That's all I've got for you today, so as always, thank you all so much for watching. Until next time.